Hello everyone. Before we begin, built on the banks of the Birrarung, Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre acknowledges the traditional owners of Naarm, the Boonwurrung and Wurrungjerai Woi Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and to elders of all First Nations communities that visit MCEC. We recognise the significance of the Birrarung to traditional owners as a life source and a meeting place, and seek to honour a 40,000-year tradition of building community and exchanging ideas on these lands. But, welcome everyone. I know what you're thinking, it's a pretty empty theatre, but to be honest, it's a reality TV panel at a gaming convention.
No big surprise.
I'm as surprised as you are.
You!
Well, I'm assuming everyone being here means that you guys understand that this is a Beauty and the Geek panel. We are from different seasons of Beauty and the Geek. We've got Cody on the end, who actually is from one of the previous seasons, like 10 years ago when he was back on Channel 7.
I was in the 2012 season. I just crashed this panel because I saw that it was on, so...
Yeah. And I was so excited to have you involved. But yeah, let's begin by introducing ourselves. My name is George Goldfetter. I was on the most season last year of Beauty and the Geek. What do we call that? Season 8 or season 1 of New Geek? Who knows? Yeah, 2021 Beauty and the Geek. I was marketed as like a Dungeons and Dragons and like action geek.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is accurate. I cannot dispute that.
Is it?
Mitch.
So I'm Mitchell James Berryman. I was also on the Beauty and the Geek 2021 cast. On the show, I was billed as just the gamer geek, and that was pretty much my shtick. Although I did do Dungeons and Dragons, same as George Goldfetter. I was pretty much the fake geek of the entire group, regardless of what anyone says.
Too cool.
Hi everyone, I'm Kira Johnston. I don't really know what they really marketed me at, so I'm a public servant, I still am, and I was on last year's season as well with the boys.
Yeah, you said that you were marketed as your dad was a cop.
Yeah. The first episode is the only thing that they really aired about my personal life was that my dad was a police officer and that I accidentally went home with someone one night that my dad had arrested. So that was my marketing strategy, so that's great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kieran. I'm a lawyer. I was marketed as a cyber specialist. I'm as curious as to what that means as you might be. I love film. I love film.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam. You must have known me from Beauty and Geek last year as well. I was cast as the footy fanatic, from the footy, and also a bit of an Napoleon Dynamite lookalike as they were trying to portray me as well. So part of my own self as well. Yeah.
You, just to be clear, the Napoleon Dynamite shirt was yours though.
Yeah,
That wasn't the show.
The show.
You're saying Beauty and the Geek tried to market you as you.
My name is Cody. I was on season 4 of the Bernard Curry hosted seasons of Beauty and the Geek, which is probably the big distinction, is the Sophie Mark new season sort of a different genre really. They went into sort of a dating show kind of thing. When I was on it, it was a bit more of a sort of friendly competition sort of show. I was marketed as the webmaster because I run a Zelda website, which incidentally, that's why I'm here. Tomorrow there's a panel on the Zelda timeline at 2 p.m. So if you're interested in the Legend of Zelda timeline, 2 p.m. tomorrow in the Fruit Bowl Theatre.
Hell yeah.
It's Zelda or Cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Look, especially with the Tears of the Kingdom announcement, but we can get into it tomorrow.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I bring up this whole idea of what we were marketed as because obviously a TV show. But first and foremost, one of their most important things is to be entertaining. And I kind of get some of the reasons why we were marketed as different things. But I guess this panel is more to give you a bit of an insight about the people behind it and what we kind of went through. So one of the first things I was actually going to ask everyone is, what was your thought process in applying for Beauty and the Geek if you applied? Because I actually didn't apply. I was approached because I'm on a Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel called Split the Party, check it out. And they contacted us to say, hey, would you be interested in applying? And I was like, well, sure, this is something I would never do. I was honestly in a pretty bad place mentally, so like lockdown, I'm sure everyone can relate to that. And I figured, sure, this is something I would never normally do. Might as well try it and see where it happens. And it ended up great for me. I had a really good time. But for everyone else, like, what about you? What was your thought processes and what made you apply?
Well, I sort of had a similar experience to you. Like, I didn't actually apply. I was approached beforehand. So before I was approached for the show, I actually started my gaming YouTube channel October 2019. I was looking for because I couldn't find any work to get with my creative writing degree and my 2 diplomas in screen and media. So I started YouTube to get experience with Adobe Premiere Pro so that I had something to give to employers. 1 year into that, someone approached me on Messenger, slipped into my DMs and said, hey, would you like to apply for this? And I said, yeah, sure. With no knowledge that I was actually able to get into it. I thought it was going to bomb.
Fair.
I also didn't apply, so that's great. But my experience actually stems back from like my childhood. I always watched Big Brother, and I loved Big Brother. And so when that came back, I auditioned for it. And I think I got a bit far in that process. It's hard to know where you are in the process because they can't really tell you if you're going to be on the show or not until you're pretty much signing contracts.
Yeah.
So I think I got quite far into that, but obviously didn't get on. And then a few years later, I was at work one day and a random company called me and they said, oh, like, we're bringing the show back, you know, do you remember Beauty and the Geek? Did you ever watch it? And I was like, yeah, I love that show. It was so much fun. And literally, like 3 weeks after that phone call, I was in Sydney filming. It was so quick. It was just, yeah.
So my experience was quite different. I did apply. I feel like I might have been one of the few. I applied because my friend sent me the application kind of as an insult. It's just saying it's the only way I'll ever meet someone. I'd been single for 30 years, and so I put the application in, kind of just curious to see what the process was like, not really thinking I'd get on. It was really low effort, and then, but I just ended up having cameras in my house not too long later. It was very much a frog in a boiling pot of water type situation where you don't realize that you're on the show until you are. It's quite intimidating.
Yeah, so I applied as well. I saw it on TV, it came up on an ad. I just work in a supermarket, so I don't do much else apart from playing footy as well. I don't have that many hobbies, and I was like, yeah, why not apply? Like, what are the chances of me going on? Like, 100 to 1, and I thought, yeah, I'll just do it. And I was in bed the next morning, just applying online for like half an hour, and then 3-4 hours later, they sent me a message saying, love your application, and we want you to come on. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, what the hell? Can't believe it. I did, So yeah, from there, went through all the process, Zoom meetings, went to the convention centre to have to audition face to face, and went from there, signing all these, NDAs, all these applications, medical tests, all that sort of stuff, and then got the shuttle bus to Sydney, 10-hour trip. That was not fun. I had to go to the physio twice to get rid of the back spasm, so that was not fun. Overall the experience is pretty good.
Yeah, look, I applied. I mean, I don't know how much of a nerd you have to be to get scouted for Beauty and the Geek. I feel like that's a real, high level, the executives are like, I know the perfect nerd.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's an insult or a great thing.
Yeah, but look, I did apply. I knew someone who'd been on previous seasons of the show, and I thought, oh, that would be quite interesting. And I applied, and I was sort of a nerd, but in a funny way. And so, they said perfect, and I joined the show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should clarify for anyone that doesn't know, our season was bought out by Channel 9 when we started. We were like a new remake of the show, whereas Cody's was back 10 years ago for Channel 7.
Yeah.
So wildly different shows. I know most of us rewatched the old Channel 7 show before we went on. and it was completely different.
Yeah.
Like, I kept telling these guys one of my favourite memories of those Channel 7 shows was they had the beauties do a spelling bee. And then when the beauties got a word wrong, they would dunk crabs in the geek's pants. I was ready for that.
Yeah. No, we weren't the crab pants season, which is a sentence that I've never said before. We did have a country facts one where there was a wedgie machine set up. And look, some of the questions were fine. I think, look, black pudding is a hard one as to what the ingredients are. But yeah, look, lots of exciting things, jousting on segways, professional wrestling. It's
which
everything happens on the show.
I think like we can all say that sounds way better than ours. Ours ended up mostly being public speaking competitions, which
We did wrestling.
we did do the wrestling, which was pretty good, and then there was the Magic Mike show, which was the finale.
Yeah. Which was traumatizing, by the way.
For some of us.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Cool Cat Hero was great.
Yeah, we created superheroes.
Yeah, we created superheroes at a Comic-Con convention as well, which was really fun and very strange, because it was actually one of the weird things I saw was a couple of people on Facebook commenting about how they felt like geek culture was a little bit almost, not objectified, almost the opposite of that. They kind of made it seem weirder on the show, because at one point during that convention, the show focused on a man dressed as a woman in like an anime outfit, and they were a bit like, oh, this is a bit strange, this is weird.
That's not strange.
No, which to us is like second nature. We're fine with that.
But you were treated as like normal people though in your seasons.
We were, yeah.
Whereas in our seasons, everyone had to have an extreme gimmick that was just like, they just mentioned it every time, just like they were a biologist or whatever, so they were constantly just like, this reminds me of diseases. Your love reminds me of microbes.
They would have loved it if we did that, though.
It was a bit tragic sometimes, but what they would do is they would film like an hour of questions and then take like 5 to 10 second clips that fit what they wanted to show. So it was they gave me a sweater vest to wear, and they told me when I got shortlisted a couple months before the show started, they said stop shaving because the makeover episode is going to be more dramatic. And then they asked my glasses prescription because my glasses weren't nerdy enough, and so they got me some big round glasses in my prescription, which was nice, so that I could wear them up until the makeover episode where I went back to wearing my normal clothes.
Yeah.
So you seem like you had a great time.
It was nice of them to get you your prescription.
Yeah, look, it's nice to be able to see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the makeovers and stuff, like one of the most common questions I get was like, oh, did you grow the beard for the show? Or like, did they dress you and things like that? And it sounds like for the previous shows, they actually did. But for ours, I don't know if it's different for you guys. I already had a giant beard. I did not know how to groom it. I looked like a hobo. Like, that was just me. And they did not dress me up.
I think they got really lucky because our season was filmed during lockdown.
Also
during
fair, yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Where kind of everyone's hygiene just went out the window. I think she was...
Yeah, that was lockdown.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get a haircut. I wasn't able to... I
I'm
didn't want to shave.
I'm not sure I can relate to either of you two because I normally keep my hair like as short as this, and I do not like growing this out. When I found out that I actually got into this, they originally told me that I had to grow my hair out, not cut it, and also not shave this beard. So it certainly showed in certain episodes of The Evil Within that I had on my channel. I was growing this all out, and it was very whispery, and it was all kind of shit. A few days before we were to go out, they said, "Okay, we want you to shave the beard off." I was like, yes! I didn't want that beard on me at all, but they still wanted me to keep it all curly up here, all the hair.
Yeah. What about you, Kira? Did they make you grow a beard?
No. which they.
Would you have?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Did they have any requests for you?
Yeah, for
before
the
show?
beauties.
No, well, not for me at least. It was a really quick turnaround for me going on the show, but I didn't even get my hair cut or anything. Someone was like, this girl needs to take out her really bad extensions. I'm like, I don't even have extensions. Like, my hair's shit.
God.
Yeah.
I just have bad hair. But yeah, no, I didn't do anything. I didn't prepare at all. I barely knew I was going on the show until, and then we actually got sent up to Sydney quickly because there was a lockdown that happened over Valentine's
Oh
Day.
God.
So
Big
I actually
trip.
had way less time than I thought I had to get up there. So yeah, I didn't have any time to prepare and I didn't really do anything. I just went.
So for those who want like a tiny bit of insight, so especially for us geek side, so originally we were supposed to fly out to Sydney, but then we found out that the lockdowns were going to be happening. Some of us were at home, some of us were at work. I myself was at Northland buying all my clothes when I found out this information, and I was stressing the F out. And then they graciously and very quickly organized. We were supposed to be taking a van. Yes, a van. Yes, it's definitely not glamorous. But yeah, they organized this in very little time, and so we got all the way to Melbourne Showgrounds, and we got into that van, and it was an 11-hour trip from there to the border over to Sydney to make sure that we got there in time.
Yeah, before
the
closed.
border closed, and then we were effed.
Also, we got told we can't speak to each other the whole time. To save the integrity of the show and to save it for meeting each other, we could not speak to each other. We could barely look at each other. I wasn't with the boys, I was with the girls. There was Letitia and Brianna. And literally we had a chaperone that was telling us, don't even look at each other, basically.
When you had to stay silent for your whole trip.
Silent.
We were allowed to speak.
Oh,
but
I think you're joking.
we were allowed to speak, but we weren't allowed to say anything about the show or about how we got
So
there. It had to be
the-
general.
The rules were very strict. We were allowed to speak about the present. We weren't allowed to speak about the future or the past. So we could talk about, look at the tree out there.
Yeah.
Oh.
We just weren't allowed to get to know each other if it was off camera, pretty
Yes.
much. So it was very much like, oh, how about that sports game that none of us watched?
I mean, fair enough. Like,
Except Sam.
Except the football.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what to talk about really. So.
I mean, fair enough that they had to keep like a lot of that conversation down so that it would develop when the show was actually being recorded during March.
Which didn't end up happening.
Which didn't end up happening, and that was
Because it
effed.
was like, okay, you guys are on camera for about 3 minutes here, so get to know each other. And it was like, okay, how's... You believe in God? You had to really just jump straight into giant questions. It was
Yeah, no, we got put in, before the show we sort of were in hotel rooms together. Just the geeks were all in one hotel room together, and that's where I established my dominance. So we were playing werewolf mafia among us. However you know it. There's someone who's it, and so what I did was whoever nominated me, I would go after them, and I made a point like people who nominate me for elimination, I'll go after them. Just in the context of a game of werewolf,
Did it pay off?
No one nominated me for elimination until episode 9. So,
Ooh.
which was because the other option was dating the person who won, and so he couldn't nominate her for elimination. So I really snuck under the radar for the entire show, and I think partly
you
it's
had no
because
other
of
option
my skills at werewolf.
Yeah.
Mad respect for keeping that all the way through, though.
Yeah. I guess so. Another thing that I was going to say is we would have filmed hundreds of hours of footage, and then having to get that all cut down into about 30 minutes of a show or 40 minutes.
Totally.
Yeah, so for us as contestants, one of the big things was we were excited to see each other's challenges because we didn't get to see any of that from each other, and then we got so little, and then they just very much focused on the dating side, which again was actually quite a new thing for our season, which apparently some of you weren't told.
No, I was explicitly told it wasn't a dating show.
And I was explicitly told it was.
I was told it was as well.
Yeah.
They really hammered down on that. You're single, right? Like, are you sure you're single?
Yeah,
like,
that was a big thing.
Are you ready for love? And I'm like, I mean, sure. Like,
Yeah.
So I knew it. Like,
They were talking to me about that, being like, "Oh, you think you're going to come here and fall in love with a beauty?" And I was like, "No. If anything, I'm going to fall in love with a geek." And then, to be fair, I got into a relationship on the show, so. But it happened. It just happened. It was alright. But yeah, I think. What are some highlights of things that you didn't make it onto the show? And I assume it'll be exactly the same with you, Cody. That there's plenty of stuff that happened off camera.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll start then. There was an entire challenge, or an entire penalty in which myself and my beauty were chained together for 24 hours, which they cut out of the show. And the only reference to it you see is just at the beginning of the next challenge. If you pause for a moment, you're like, why are those two people chained together? But it apparently wasn't interesting enough to make the final cut, so there's just a mysterious Easter egg. If you pause at the right moment in a certain episode, we're chained together. So all of the exciting scenes they filmed about how to go to the toilet and all that kind of thing didn't make it into the show. So
Oh my god.
I love that.
You guys lived together, didn't you? Your season all lived in the...
Yeah, we sort of had, I don't know how you set it up in your season, but we had a sort of the Beauty and the Geeky mansion, which they used for the entire original show. Now I think it's used for a different reality show.
Apparently, yeah, I can't remember
The
which
Bachelor,
one.
isn't it?
Is it Bachelor?
Is it
I
Bachelor?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, people picked their rooms at the start, and our room had enough room for three sort of groups of two, three teams, and then there were a couple across the hall, and then there were, a couple, further across the house, and that actually ended up deciding the politics of the eliminations to some extent.
Yeah.
Like nobody nominated for elimination anyone in their own room for the most part. So there were some little alliances and things formed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe for your seasons they knew about that stuff.
Who
and
got
tried
the
to
best
stop it.
room? Who got the best room?
Yeah, I think we got the best room because the team that came in first, which, and the team that came in third, which was us, were in the same room, and so we sort of, survived, quite well all the way until the end. There was one group that had it real bad because there were only two teams in the room, and one of them got eliminated early, and so they were just sort of stranded, alliance-wise, for a while, so they got nominated about 3 times for elimination. So these are all the inner politics and then at one point a producer came storming in about like, why are you picking this person or whatever, and it's like, yeah.
Can I ask you, in terms of alliances, our season got specifically, like in our contracts, we got told you cannot make alliances with people, and if we figure out that you have done that, whoever wins doesn't actually win, they will forfeit their prize money.
Maybe that's why they
Was
did
there
that.
a
So you get
clause or
paid.
something in your contract?
There wasn't they did yell at us if they suspected. I mean, we didn't sign any contracts saying we were in an alliance, just
Right.
people got along with each other because they were in the same rooms. And that sort of naturally grew out into something. There was a couple of times where it was like, because they were like, how do you offer to swap who you're going to eliminate and all this, and there was some stuff going on. I was like, I didn't do that. I mean, we were, but and they knew we were because they had CCTV in our rooms.
Oh,
but
okay.
They couldn't tell us that because they told us that the CCTV was only for video and didn't capture audio. And so they couldn't reveal their sources, and so I was just like, no, this is just who we picked.
Circumstantial.
And they were
Actually-
just seething.
That brings up a pretty funny thing for me. I guess I don't know how many of you might actually know. I am an actor. I had studied acting beforehand, and it was very out in the open the entire season of Beauty and the Geek. I spoke about it constantly, did I not?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Did they call you a fake geek online?
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Some of you might have done it. So I was an actor, but that was originally part of my geek because it was like, geeks love heroes. This one wants to be one. And I was upfront about it the whole time. And so I kind of understood how it all worked and how the process of filming and stuff worked. And we were mic'd for a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much
All the time.
I don't know how much you know, but like they would have been listening the entire time that
Oh,
we were
yeah.
mic'd. Yeah, because I spoke to other geeks where they were like, "Oh, I hope they don't hear this." I was like, "They are.
Yeah.
They're listening now."
Yeah.
Literally picked
I'm
up
just
what you
focusing
said,
on-
you weren't in the room. Well, they weren't in the room. But
Yeah.
Your mic would turn on, and you thought they walked off. You could just say whatever, and they come back and they're like, "So we didn't hear what we were saying." They're like, yeah, we can hear everything.
Yeah, I was.
Why do you?
They'll
Why else
capture
do you
whatever
think
they can for
I?
drama.
Why else do you think I went to the bathroom as often as I did?
That's what I was going to say is I would go to the bathroom and I'd just like pull my microphone back out and then go to the sound guy and be like, "No, I pulled out."
Is that code?
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to touch on. Oh, actually, yeah, I should mention this. Some of you will remember the KFC food truck incident.
Oh my god, the
yes.
best thing. That didn't make it to TV.
Hashtag
By
not
far.
Hashtag not
Some of
that.
us don't
Yeah, so
because
yeah,
roommates.
that will also come up.
Oh,
But yeah, so there was the vaudevillian night where we were all dressed up as like circus performers and different things. And I was dressed in like a red and white striped leotard. And there was a food truck, a KFC food truck, which was also red and white. And at some point, I was standing up to go and grab Josie and myself lemonades. So I had lemonades in either hand. And then everyone was like, "Oh, George, you blend into the truck." And me, being the dickhead that I am, was like, "Ah, look at me, I'm blending in." And I leaned on these like stairs.
And then what happened?
And the entire stairs just collapsed. I went head over heels, lemonade in my hand, went all over my face, having all of the camera crew and stuff running over to me being like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Because I must have just dodged all of the lighting equipment on the ground. One specifically being like PB, who just ran up being like, "Do you okay?" And I was like, yeah. Did you get that?
No one recorded that entire thing.
That's not true. PB said that he had the best
Yeah.
shot of that.
They
He was
got
like,
it.
"Mate, that was great."
George was like, George actually said, "Please air it." Like,
Wait,
put it on
wait,
TV.
so he actually got it.
There's
Yeah,
footage
you
of
got
it
it.
somewhere. And I specifically went and told the producers, I was like, "Hey, I give you full permission to use this. That was funny.
It was funny.
I'm okay. I didn't get hurt or anything like that." And they were like, "Yeah, that's fine." And I was like, "If it doesn't air, can I please have that footage?"
Yes.
They actually said yes. They wouldn't give it to me afterwards. I did message them.
Of course it wouldn't.
But yeah, apparently it was because it was KFC that was supposed to bolt those stairs together.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That if they didn't air it, it was definitely for some legal, like,
Yeah.
we're not holding legal,
Accountability.
obligation
That
to do
makes
it.
sense now.
Yeah. I should also say we're going to do audience questions later on, so if you want to think of anything, feel free to. Or don't ask anything, just yell abuse. But I guess bringing it down for a second, the mental side of Beauty and the Geek. How were you beforehand? How are you now? And how were you during? Do you think that it helped? Has it clarified things to you? I mean, I feel personally like I was going through a very hard time, and then Beauty and the Geek kind of came at the perfect moment for me, and it really helped me work out who I was as a person, because for me it was very much a sink or swim situation of, I'm about to go on camera in front of Australia, I need to work out what I like about myself and just believe in myself for now. And I was just so happy to be there, and sort of like meet so many cool people.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a huge thing of growth. I didn't care whether I won. I honestly thought I'd get eliminated straight away. I didn't, which was shocking. But yeah, for me, it was an incredibly valuable experience. Was it the same for you guys?
I'd like to say mine last and pass it on to the others.
Yeah, well, my experience, I pretty much work in retail, so I'm talking to people every day. And so I sort of had that confidence that instead I'm not talking to people and having cameras in my face that are like literally right there all day, every day, and like the pressure of this, like, not tripping up over your words or saying something that you probably should not be like, oh, that's going to be caught on
We're
camera.
speaking too close to the mic.
Okay?
We're speaking too close to the mic.
Yeah, all that. Anyways, yeah, like that. Yeah. Well, let's not get into that yet. All right, we might as well get into that yoga session. So one of the challenges I had to be a yoga instructor. Or it's just more meant to be, I'm not into, namaste, all that jazz. I had to be a yoga instructor basically, and there was a few hecklers in the room, and they were like, "Oh, my back's sore. I'm doing I'm stretching too much. I'm like, well, just go as far as you can. Don't stress yourself, and like kept going on and on and on. It's like, obviously this is a setup. I'm like, oh, that's bloody. They're like, that's it. I'm done. Out of here. So that was pretty embarrassing. And that's probably how I got up for elimination and left. And then I was lucky enough to survive and come back. But the next day I had to go into the Today Show, and Carl and the other host were like, yeah, good morning, Sam. And they're like, oh, should we say namaste? I was like, oh, yeah, nice one, Carl. It was funny. And I was telling him when I was like, I felt like I was having a panic attack when because it was still deep breathing, and then he just like started pissing himself laughing. I'm like, oh, yeah, brilliant, you know? So I was just like,
I used to get back to his drinks.
yeah,
So
pretty much.
did they take away your phones and everything and make sure you had no contact with the outside world?
Good question on that one. They took away our phones when we had to go out to do challenges, and they also gave us a set of iPhones that I believe were probably used from like the last Maths cast, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, we had these little iPhones to record in our rooms and make our own little footage, and they said that, oh, we'll use this for social media stuff.
We never caught them.
Deleted it all. They deleted everything, which was such a shame.
The whole point of like giving us those phones was that we just could record all of that shit, and if they is like no point if they're just not going to air that or even give us the footage. Like, what's the point? Could have just recorded. There were some people who actually recorded footage onto their own phones, which was actually a smart decision.
George and I spent probably hours
At least 2 or
doing
3.
a stop motion video. It took a long time, and we were so excited to release it. It was Spider-Man playing guitar and swinging around the room.
Yeah.
And all of that got deleted.
I feel like it was very much just a case of like, oh, what are kids like? Here, take a phone, that'll keep you distracted.
Why would you give us an iPhone though?
Yeah, no, they didn't give us, I mean, part of the goal was to make it so we didn't have contact with anyone else, so that the suspension bridge effect or whatever, so that people would get really into it, and maybe some relationships would start that absolutely wouldn't hold up a week in the outside world, but when they're the only other people you talk to, that's become your whole world,
Yeah.
and that I think that's why they sort of like, I went like a couple of months that I was on the show, and I just didn't know what was happening outside, so that's how they sorted that out.
No, you go ahead.
Did you have romantic relationships on your season, Cody?
There were a couple, but no pun intended. There are a couple of relationships, but that took a while to go. There are a couple of relationships, but they weren't mandated. It was just there were some people who got along and also knew that it was good for the cameras and that sort of thing to some extent. And they would sort of get egged on a little, and producers would come up with a way to be like, oh, here, you can go on a date or whatever to try and get it going, because they like to have 1 or 2 relationships on the show that can be a bit dramatic, and then they have to eliminate each other or whatever.
Like playing a weird form of Cupid.
It wasn't a dating show in the same way that yours was.
Yeah.
I want to go back to one of the points you said. It's interesting how you talk about the whole the isolating, make sure we didn't talk to each other. So a funny thing happened on our season. Probably, I don't know. It's probably like what was it, episode 9 or 10? It was very late. But I was not aware. 1 or 2 people were actually setting up a Snapchat group just for like a few of the geeks who congregate each other, which is fine. And then the beauties got in on it, and then almost everyone on the cast got in on it, and I don't know how the crew got wind of it, but it was on the day that we had to do a recording for our reaction to the ad of telling us that we were going to go out onto like the field, the whole cheerleading thing that you saw in like episode 10. They gave us a gigantic talk about how really bad it is to have Snapchat or any form of social media group going, because probably like with the issue of alliances and all of that, or some other stuff. I originally thought that it was actually me that caused the trouble because because originally we were going to get lunches from the charcoal chicken place, and someone put a message through to all of the phones asking what he wants for charcoal chicken. I responded to the wrong message, and so everyone got access to everyone else's phone numbers.
Yes.
And I was just going there like, what did I do? What did I do? Turns out it wasn't me.
Yeah.
There was a point though where our phones were taken off us completely for the finale. We didn't have our phones for about 2 whole days, and that's not even just in bed at night. Like we just didn't have our phones at all. But
So peaceful.
it was because the way that it ended. The eliminated contestants voted for who they wanted to win, and I think that's where the alliances would have really come out then, because if you did have your phone and you could have just texted your friends being like, oh, who do you want to vote for, like blah blah blah. So yeah, full discretion, we did have our phones taken off us for like 2 whole days. I couldn't even speak to like my mom or dad.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
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 2 days.
2
It's
days.
fine.
Yeah, no, it was 2 or 3 months for
Yeah.
Oh god.
And we didn't have Snapchat at all. Hadn't been invented yet. Or it might have 2012. I don't know when Snapchat came along. But look, I'm very old. These kids these days are on their TikToks and Snapchats, but we were just banned from Facebook because that's. So we all had alternate usernames on Facebook and just formed a group with our fake names. And I think they noticed, but they didn't really care. I think it was mostly just about not leaking information.
Fair.
Yeah. Which, for our seasons, the winner leaked both seasons. Both our season and the one after us, the winner was leaked halfway through. So, yeah. Somebody was doing it.
Is that because someone leaked it, or is that because when they were putting together the footage, they just spoiled like 5 episodes ahead? Like they
Also
always do?
fair, they did
That
that.
is yes.
I thought they did it because of Sportsbet.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sportsbet always has the best odds.
Oh, yeah,
and
they have
odds
Sportsbet for
were
us.
accurate from the first episode.
So
Yeah.
how long was the difference between when you filmed and when it went live? 2
Okay,
months?
so we finished filming in
April.
probably like April, yeah.
April 1st.
And then it didn't start airing until
July.
early to mid-July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So quite a long time.
Yeah, no, because it was winter, but they kept saying it's a summer show, pretend it's summer. And so the girls were not having a good time with the short dresses and stuff in the wind and everything, because it was like, it was very cold a lot of the time, but they were like, it's going to air in like 3 months, and so you can't just act like it's cold, so stop it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's horrible.
So we don't have a huge amount of time left. So there's actually some other big things I wanted to talk about. One of them being like relevance and stuff of Beauty and the Geek in like today's climate. One of the big things that we would always get is we want to see all female geeks and male beauties. What do you guys think about that?
I go for it. I have a lot of female geek friends who really should go onto the show. Like they would be perfect for it.
Yeah.
We need this, I think.
And we need some more male bimbos on the show.
Yes.
Himbos represent.
It has happened once. There was one season where the gimmick was that there was one female geek and one male beauty.
It was
Yeah.
Troy.
Yeah, just the one.
And they were
Troy,
called
yeah.
Helen and
Helen and
Troy.
Troy. So
Yes.
yeah.
Helen and Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
were great. They did
coincidence.
such a good job.
They did
too.
well.
They went like really, really far.
Yeah, but also I'm sure that the show wanted them to.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, because like obviously everyone calls for all female geeks and all female and all male beauties.
Yeah.
And like I think that would be great, but I don't think that the female geeks would be the issue. I think it's male beauties that
Yeah.
are a big risk.
That would be a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things that somebody I guess was talking to me about is that male beauties are more likely to take advantage and like use female geeks to try and further their things, which like I kind of get.
Yeah.
But in saying that, that's also stereotyping.
Yes.
So I just think that it's a risk.
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of the show is a bit of a risk, really.
It really is. I mean, it's not joking.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, it's true, but it is also funny. But you know, like what they sold it as in our season is it's a social experiment. You know, that's what they'd always tell us. You know, it's not a dating show. It's a social experiment, you know, but it was, you know, and they tried to keep it light, and I think to some extent it was. Like, I think there are other reality TV shows where you have the bad guy, like where they set up villains, and they never really did that on Beauty and the Geek because they wanted it to be, you know, everyone's learning together and that sort of thing. But it is sort of fraught just as a concept of, you know, stereotypes a lot of the time, especially in seasons like mine where they were sort of, you know, put on your sweater vest, you know, and that kind of thing, rather than just allowing people to be themselves.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess for me was a bit of a thing when I was getting accepted onto the show, because I was very much like, I am not really the type of geek that you guys they've had before or anything, because I did go back and watch all the Channel 7s, and I was kind of excited to break that stigma a little bit and bring it back for like all of the athletic nerdy geeks, because I was a break dancer, I play Dungeons and Dragons, I do a lot of martial arts, I love to play with swords. Like, I am not the typical geek that a lot of people would be used to, and I copped it online a lot.
Unfairly.
But I also think that that's because they kind of used that in the show. They made me seem very bland. It seemed very normal, and like, especially winning challenges, because all of our things ended up being public speaking challenges. I'm fine with that. I was an actor, like I knew what I was doing. The one time I got terrified was the speed dating challenge. And I was like, oh, this is my chance to show everyone, oh, I'm a loser. Like, this is 100% the chance where Australia sees it and they're like, oh, we take it all back. They cut it.
Oh, God.
They cut all of it except for the one girl that I did well with.
Oh, no.
And then I saw that and was instantly looking at Twitter being like, oh, see, George has no problem with women. I was like, have you met me?
Yeah, no, just on the dating, we had a dating challenge that what happened was they said, oh, here's some, you know, eligible bachelorettes from Sydney or whatever that have come along. It was actually the mothers of the beauties.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Holy shit.
And so they were on another TV screen watching in horror as we tried out all of our...
Tried to seduce their mums.
tricks on their mum. I won the challenge, by the way.
Oh yeah, one of the things I wanted to say as well is I would have loved if the new season they brought back the old geeks as like coaches or something.
Yes.
Because I think that would have been really funny if they were like, oh, teach us how to get girls, and we all went in being like, I don't know. Do you have a better idea than me? You're young.
How's your dating ability improved? Anyone since the show?
Improved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did one person, that's pretty much an improvement.
That's an improvement for me too. But yeah, Cody, you were about to say.
I'm sorry, what was the topic we were talking about?
Yeah,
Dating?
but just...
You good at dating now?
Classic George.
Well, what I was going to say was around the bringing old geeks back and that sort of thing. Look, you know, 15 minutes of fame is literal. Like, I stopped being recognised from the show like 5 years ago. It's been 10 years since, and it sort of sporadically, you know, got less and less noticed. Are you still getting people who look at you weirdly on the street because they can't tell whether they know you or not?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
And they look at you for a bit too long as well. It's like, do you recognise me, or do you think I'm someone you know, or like...
Yeah, so
it's
that
a little bit too long.
That lasts for like 3 years.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to get recognized when you're wearing a mask the entire time.
Yeah, true. We
People
did have to wear
recognise
masks.
me even when I had my mask on because they just saw my afro. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
You have an identifier.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't get recognised at all, which for me is great. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to go out in the street and have people be like, oh my god. It's like, I'm always, when people do, it's amazing, it's exciting. Because
But you don't necessarily want to be known for just like that.
Yeah, like as in, it just never bothered me. In fact, it's actually very funny to me because I was doing, one of the funniest things that's happened to me so far is I was talking about Beauty and the Geek in like a changing room with some friends, and another guy standing next to us was like, oh yeah, I loved that show, I watched the whole thing in lockdown. I was like, yeah. And I had a quick conversation with him, and he was like, wait, were you on it? And I was like, dude, I was like, top 3. He was like, hold on, which one were you? And he pulled out his phone, and I had to like hold it up and be like, this one. Like, yeah, it's funny to me.
Yeah. I had a weird situation where I was walking this really remote track like with my best friend, and we were in the middle of nowhere. I can't even stress that enough. It was where I live, and we were like halfway through the track, like an hour into the track. And this random guy come up to me and was like, oh, I loved you on Beauty and the Geek. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, where are you from? You know? And we started talking, and he eventually walked with us. And then he goes, oh, so you and your geek, you guys got together and, you know, you did all this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did you actually watch it? Because that's not at all what happened. And it's weird that they recognize you but have absolutely no idea who you are or what you did or anything like that. I just find that very, like, bizarre.
Watch the freaking show.
Well,
Just watch it.
People get really nervous when they're talking to me. I'm like, yeah, I was on Beauty and the Geek. They're like, oh, I didn't watch it. And I was like, neither would I.
That's why it's not coming back next year. It's cancelled.
I got recognized once really notably, and that was sort of while the show was airing, so it was in the height of lockdown when you're not expecting to get recognized. But one of my neighbors was having repair work done on their house.
Oh, you told me this.
So I'm honestly on the toilet, and there's a window in my toilet, and there's a guy that keeps sort of peeking his head over. And so I get a bit concerned. I sort of leave, and I leave my house later. And as I'm leaving the house, he's like watching me. And then later he's like, I recognize you. I recognize you from the show. And he's really nice. He helped me fix my lock to my house.
So he has the key?
Yeah. He knows where I live. He has the ability to get into my house. He's seen me on the toilet. So if you're out there, Jared, call me.
I guess, we're getting very close to the end time, and I am actually running off to another panel after this, which is the Taskmaster panel over in the Kookaburra Theatre. But do we have?
Yeah, with that said,
something
does anyone have
for
any
audience
questions? Yes, Cortana in the back.
Oh yeah, we got a roaming mic over here.
Okay, this question is for Sam.
Yes.
Hi, Sam. Hi.
I'm just trying to shoelace.
No, that's fine. Go for it. So I have a question about that Kiss FM.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Is there more to the story that happened on the Kiss FM radio? Can you tell everyone about it?
I've pretty much told this already now in full, but I'll say it. 6 years ago, me and a few mates, it was about 1 or 2 in the morning, we went to Gotham City. So it was a gentleman's club, a brothel, and we had all.
As your lawyer, I advise you not to say anything further. Next question.
We all had sex, and imagine if I said that on TV and all those little kids were watching, so it probably wasn't a smart idea, I must say. I still have kids coming up to me at work and school like, "What do you know about the stand? That's stand from Beauty and the Geek." Like little kids, I'm like, little kids are watching this.
We've got a person in front there.
Yeah, Anthony.
Anthony from the latest season of Beauty and the Geek, everyone.
I would like to know what was your favorite and least favorite challenge you did?
What was yours?
Favorite wrestling challenge. That was amazing. That was built for me. I had so much fun on that. Least favorite, the pregnancy one.
Yeah.
Or it's very much like, the winner is the best couple.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yes.
Josie and I are a couple. Do we win?
I haven't actually watched this season. Did you get pregnant?
Kinda. They made the beauties wear like fake pregnancy stuff, and then we went to a pregnancy class, and they showed us a live birth.
Yeah.
Which I was perfectly fine with, by the way. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I've seen worse in health class.
We're gamers.
And all the couples that were in that challenge, me and Ira won it, and we weren't even,
Me and Lucky did too.
and you got.
I loved everything except the Magic Mike challenge. The Magic Mike challenge, I had to go on a stage in front of literally it was a full crowd, like a bigger stadium like this.
Yeah, and I spoke to women after that, and they were like, "No, we had absolutely no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
It was just weird."
It was weird.
It's just weird.
It was like a Wish version of Magic Mike. With
Yeah.
girls and people. But that was the worst challenge by far. Like, I'm not a dancer. I actually never showed, but I actually walked. We had to do like a kind of a practice dance before everyone came in, obviously because it was rain and it was dangerous and whatever. But I walked off in the practice and had like an actual breakdown, and the producers had to come and like console me. And if you have watched that episode and you thought maybe I was a bit like, I was a bitch in that episode because I just didn't want to be there, and I was like, how can you make us do this? Like, this is horrible. But every other challenge was really, really good, and mostly speaking challenges and stuff, but they were fun, and you wanted to do them again once you'd done them, even though they were really scary.
Kieran, what was your favorite and least favorite?
Most of them have been said. Of the ones that haven't been mentioned yet, I really enjoyed the superhero challenge. I thought was a lot of fun, getting to exercise that creativity. I really enjoyed your costume, Kira.
No.
And for those who watched the
Cool Cat
season,
Kira.
they'll remember the TikTok sensation that is Cool Cat Kira.
I changed my answer, actually. That was also traumatizing. So Magic Mike was as well.
The one I didn't like very much, for a reason that wasn't really shown, except with respect to one of the contestants, was the photography challenge. Episode 2 challenge. And so we had to be photographers and pretend to be professional photographers to these professional models, which already felt like a weird, sad situation.
And it was hot.
It was
There's
that
no
day.
air conditioning in that place.
So my model kept asking me to turn the AC on, and I obviously can't. So I was just like fiddling with like a fire alarm.
I found a leaf blower, so I was just using a leaf blower to just blow my hair. I was sweating like a pig in there. Because I was like,
It was
Oh, yeah,
so
you said-
Well, Cody, what was your
Alright,
favorite and least
so
favorite?
let's see. So there are some good ones in my season. I already mentioned the mother dating challenge. So jousting on a Segway, that was a lot of fun. You had lances and we were dressed in full armor, and they gave us Segways and we rode towards each other, and whoever knocked the other one off the Segway won.
Sounds sick.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like that.
And I sort of accidentally got someone like in the throat. And
Accidentally.
look, it's difficult being a knight, it turns out. But I mean, not that difficult because I won, but I did. I did accidentally, wind some people with where
Oh my god.
I placed the lens. But that one was interesting. Probably the stressful one, becoming a hairdresser, is one where, because, you're just supposed to cut their hair, and I'm like, well, I've never cut hair, I haven't cut my own hair. Cut it, dye it, whatever's the, most interesting transformation sort of wins the challenge. And I was like, so something about long hair that you need to know is that you have to blow dry it for like 20 minutes after it's wet. You can't just put the hair straightener on it while it's wet, or it sizzles.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
Well, you learn it when you're doing a hairdressing challenge
Yeah.
live. That was quite an and I looked at my partner and she looked at me and she was like, no.
No.
And then I put away the hair straightener. But that's the kind of thing where you're operating on another person,
Yes.
and you're meant to act like you know what you're doing, and whether you're going to cause damage to their hair is something that's up to your experience with hair straighteners. That probably say that one.
Yeah.
I'd probably say that my favorite challenge was also the wrestling challenge, because it allowed me to be like just freak of a demon thing.
Hell yeah.
The pregnancy challenge was kind of bad, but the one that I really, really, really didn't like was the cheerleading challenge.
Really? You didn't like that?
Then the main thing that I really didn't like about that challenge was because I could hear myself on a delay. Every time I spoke, I heard myself going, and that threw me off. I hated doing that challenge.
It was fun though.
Well, I suppose it was.
It was just
so
ridiculous.
fun.
Dancing around like an idiot. Yeah, I suppose. It was
I know Naruto ran off a field with 20,000 people dressed.
Shinobi run all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, we can record it briefly, but like, ridiculous. I loved it.
Yeah, that's it.
Do we have any other questions specifically? Yeah, we've got one down here.
I haven't watched the show for a very long time. Maybe even the US version would have been what I would have seen the most. So my knowledge might be a little bit out of date, but from what I can recall, with the format of the show, there was quite a bit of portraying the beauties as being extremely dumb, maybe even to the point of having an intellectual disability, and for the geeks to be perhaps neurodivergent portraying. To what extent would that be true? That there may have been some members who may have had those sort of things about it, and was there any situations where that aspect could have been taken too far in your opinions?
So, I mean, I'm probably the person to answer the question in terms of all of the weird stuff they used to do, because it's fairly normal now. Like, you know, public servant is a title they absolutely would not have allowed one of the beauties to have in one of the early seasons, because that would imply that they got like a degree and they cared about things other than shoes. You know, and so yeah, there was definitely a lot of just like everyone's titles and stuff had to be very, you know, I think I mentioned earlier to them, but like there was one person who just worked a retail job at a clothing store, and she said, oh, you know, I do various things, and they picked out professional bra fitter as her title because that was one of the things she did at the store, but like it didn't sound dumb enough to just work at retail, so they were like, let's give a really odd title to make it sound like, you know, she's got this very niche line of work, you know, and that happened a lot in the early seasons. I mean, it was to some extent lighthearted, but it was also just like very leaning into stereotypes. Whereas, from what I watched of the newer seasons, they are willing to say like, you know, nerds can like football, and you know, beauties can have university degrees.
Yeah.
I actually would like to say something about this as well.
Please.
When we were, the producers kind of, AJ, what's his like role? Like executive
He was an
producer.
executive producer. I'm
So
sure.
like kind of the boss of the show, I suppose, he had a chat with us girls and was like, this is a different time period. We're not coming back with girls are dumb and girls just like shoes and clothes and blah, blah, blah. Like, we're going to have people on this show that are smart and have had all walks of life and, like all different views of life and things like that. And I was particularly worried because my job, I'm a government worker, and I didn't want to go on this show and lose my job as a result of what was going to potentially air. And so I raised like the issue of, I don't want to go on here and you guys make me look like I'm like a dickhead. I didn't go to university, so I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm really, really smart or anything, but I love my job. So I raised that and I said, look, I'm just a bit scared, like, and he's like, this is not how you're going to look. Like, we don't want you to look like that. We don't want any of you guys to look like that. The girls are so smart. And yeah, I think I had another point to raise there, but I forgot it. So that's not really helping my case. But yeah, they made a really big deal to make us comfortable, and that
Yeah, I have to run off for my other panel. You guys feel free to stay here, but I do also just really want to quickly say as well, like myself, I am neurodivergent. Like, I am just about to get diagnosed with ADHD, and I know that there's plenty of other kind of neurodivergents on the show. I won't speak for any of those people, but like, yeah, so it does definitely, we are portrayed that way because a lot of us are.
Yeah.
And on the beauties thing, I never thought the beauties got enough. Like, you beauties did everything we did in heels, and everything you did was so pivotal to all of our growth. And like, you personally, Kira, you were part of my growth, and I really, really appreciate you for all of that. But like, yeah, the beauties were so important to Beauty and the Geek, and they never got enough credit for what they did. But I'm going to run off. Taskmaster panel over at the Kookaburra Theatre, love you all, thank you so much for coming. I'll be around the next couple of days as well, so feel free to say hi. I'd love to say hi as well.
Alright, now that he's gone, we're going to start a new panel.
We do have like 3, maybe 5 minutes, so if anyone has like 1 or 2 more questions, one in the center over there.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little nervous. My name's Jamie. I guess like, I'm a geek, right? I'm a mad geek. I like my computers and my Rubik's Cube and, you know, my doohickeys, my bibbidi boppities, all that fun stuff, you know. I get wild into all of that, right? Mad geek. But you know, I have had a trouble with talking to girls for a lot of my life. I just get really nervous around girls, you know, and so I'm just wondering, like, your show's been really great, right? It's been really entertaining, it's been really helpful, and I was wondering, you know, as a geek, right, do y'all have any advice for me with, like, talking to girls, getting to meet new people and that, and any advice for, like, just geeks in general?
Well, you seem confident enough to ask a question, so that's a great start. I think that the show, you probably hear a lot on the show, like, just be yourself and things like that. But if you can get a microphone in an audience of people and ask a question, I think you're on a really good track. And it is important to be yourself, but don't think of girls or guys, I'm not sure what your preference is, but don't think of anyone as like someone you're not good enough to speak to, or you know, because everyone's just humans. You never know who you will click with really well, and you'd be very surprised. The more people you talk to, the more friendships you have, and you know, that can gradually grow. Don't talk to people, I think, with the intention of, oh, I want to be like in a relationship with this person. Just start with friends, and then that grows and grows, and you'll be very surprised how quick it grows.
Yeah, relationships like that, it needs to start off like really, really easy. In fact, you can't really rely too much on like, this is no foolproof tips. Everyone is little different, and even for us, even after the show, like some of us could go back into our nervousness and have trouble talking to other people. So it's just really a matter of finding like either common ground or just a way to just be normal.
Yeah.
And then if you can develop a relationship into that, then good for you.
Also, like, be okay with it being a process, right? Like, you don't have to go immediately from 0 to 60. You can start with a small step. You know, when you're ordering a coffee, say hi to someone, anyone. It doesn't have to be the opposite gender or the gender of preference.
Yeah.
Just anyone. Get comfortable being social. So there's a clear link between being social and being in romantic relationships. You have to do one to get to the other. And yeah, if you can turn it into a process and celebrate the little wins, I think that's usually a good strategy.
It's great advice.
Alright, thank you guys.
Yeah. We have probably time for one more question. That person was asked.
Mine's a pretty simple one. I was also a really big fan of the wrestling challenge as well, as Mitch mentioned. And my favourite part of the challenge was your character, the demon. And I was just wondering if you could give us a small taste of what
You want that again? Okay, fine. I'll have to get a bit of distance. Yeah, so, alright. Alright, I think that's pretty much all that we have time for.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you guys were able to sit down long enough to listen to us. I'd like to thank all the geeks and the beauty for coming to this panel. I'd like to thank you all for listening. I hope you gained some enjoyment, or at least a little bit of insight for it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of PAX for the last 2 days that we have, and continue to have some good times. Thank you guys for